Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again with the update on the Energy Blade Occultist that was using Static Strike as a delivery method for all of its damage. And all in all, just basically a bit of a conclusion video. All in all, not really worth doing. I kind of put it down pretty quickly. I wouldn't call it a failure of a build or anything, but it's just not worth continuing. Basically, I think I went a little too hipster on this with the skill choice and attempt at making Energy Blade work, and it just isn't particularly comfortable to play. So, like, I got to almost 88, I think, and I was, cruising through a lot of maps and really juicing everything as much as I possibly could, like double beyonds and shit like that to keep things fun. But ultimately, I think Static Strike just needed a few too many little tools to make it smooth that I didn't have while trying to build into a lot of Energy Blade as well, sort of Energy Shield to make Energy Blade work. So my Energy Shield in the end was about 8,000, something like that. Still had a decent amount of life as well for a hybrid sort of setup. Something like 4,000 left over Energy Shield, but our passive tree was pretty heavy on getting Energy Shield and then some life as well, and our life didn't really take off too much. It kind of stagnated and sat around 3k, and the recovery on it wasn't terrific. So ultimately the occultist attempt, I didn't have great recovery on the Energy Shield or great recovery on the life, and thus it left me a bit fish out of water style a lot of the time with the skill I chose, which was Static Strike, since Static Strike quite often just feels clumsy. If you don't have your charges up, if you have bad attack speed, if you don't have good weapon range, if you don't have extra strikes, it's mostly at the attack speed, I think, though, to get the initial hit off that lets you run and start just chaining everywhere. You need really good attack speed, and you need to be able to like run in, zoom, quickly click something, and then keep moving. And this character just didn't really have enough of that because Occultist, top side of the tree, specking into lots of Energy Shield, wasn't really too much I could do to just strictly go out of my way for attack speed, and it would have been too much on the investment side of things. I think Static Strike itself can still be pretty damn cool, so something like a Void Forge should build really nicely into a Static Strike, and the interaction between Intimidating Cry to just double damage snapshot your Static Strike, and also Hydrosphere to basically double damage through the chains. That interaction should be extremely potent for, I think, other characters. Yeah, a Void Forge or a Savior version should potentially do some good things. As far as Energy Blade is concerned, though, at least this Occultist version, it was just too much, and I didn't have enough to make it work, basically. If it was more of a Inquisitor, potentially, where I could also at the same time kind of go for more attack speed, or just a class that has no real energy shield affinity, maybe it could have worked because I'd be somewhere down there to begin with and have more access to a lot more attack speed or thickness or some shit. Long story short, couldn't really get it to feel much better to play it for longer. Like, it was still a successful enough character. I still did my tier 16 mapping and it was still pretty smooth all the time, but it did feel a bit clumsy, and I didn't really feel like going out of my way to fix a bunch of things just to keep playing it when I wasn't particularly enjoying it. But you can see that the damage is there, and the playstyle can definitely be there for Static Strike, and Hydrosphere goes a long way. But for example here, you just kind of swing a couple of times, miss a couple of times, or didn't quite connect with your additional strikes, or even if you have slow enough attack speed, you can cancel your swing before you actually connect with it, and that could be a big issue. So that's where the attack speed really comes into play and makes things feel better. So yeah, a lot of this video is just about like kind of Static Strike. The Energy Blade side of things, I still believe in Energy Blade. I think it was a successful sort of attempt at making it do damage. I pulled about 100 to 200 lightning damage onto my weapon. 100 to 2,000 lightning damage onto my weapon with the Energy Blade setup, and that does make for a very large weapon. You just need to scale around it, and Battle Mage, as far as I can tell, should be a very nice way of doing it with cast on crit or maybe some actual casting, as well as just some actual proper attacks and maybe a slightly lower amount of energy shield, but with some better sustain. So Inquisitor, I do love me some Inquisitor these days, with some good energy shield sustain. Should go a long way with some Energy Blade memes. So I still believe in Energy Blade, and I think I will be trying it again in the future, but for this character it just didn't really work out because too many problems to fix and not enough tools to do it. Not sure what else to say about it. I guess you can see in the background that there is a shitload of additional clear with a chain gem, for example. I think I did go back to Occultist Pops just because it felt pretty good. I then went and just tried to dive myself straight into a little bit of endgame to test my single target out, and it is a bit clumsy. It was just a bit weird having to set it up with Intimidating Cry, a Hydrosphere, and then just kind of AFK, but I didn't get enough damage for how clumsy it was. I think you can do better, and this Static Strike attempt was not big enough to justify the painful setup, I feel anyway. So it could still do damage. It was still possibly like 2 million DPS, something like that, maybe a bit more, but situationally of course, but it certainly wasn't super comfortable. I then just tried out Spectral Helix for the sake of, seeing what another skill would feel like. And Spectral Helix was pretty good, does very good damage, love the skill. Without building into it at all, doesn't feel great, so still not very good attack speed, no projectile speed. It's, not terrific. So once again with Helix, you want that attack speed, you want to build into some projectile speed, and you want to have that smoothness of play. But it deals really good damage and does have a nice playstyle to it. And I swapped nothing in this build except for just putting in Helix, and you can see works out well enough for the general things. But if you're going to build into it, you definitely want to build specifically into it. And that's why I also level characters so many times and so often for a build from start, because you figure out what you need in them. After all that, I just jumped on standard and I had a little build idea to do some cast on crit, Flicker Strike, Reap. And this is just a small sort of test, an example of that. It was just on standard with level 1 gems, and this was an idea I wanted to try and follow through kind of, but I've been having a bit of a headache trying to figure out how exactly. It could be a Chieftain and just go very fire heavy, it could be like a Pathfinder, go very crit and flask heavy, and in the end I landed on the best of both worlds and kind of went a Scion, so I'm just positioned nicely in the tree for both sides of the tree. And that will be the next build when I'm ready to post and actually have a build for you. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.